Well, it's finally happened! After doing this for nearly 3 years, we hit our next big milestone, 5,000 subscribers. I would follow this up by talking about how it feels to be at this milestone and stuff, but I think the perfect time will come later in this video. But anyway, I asked you all to send me questions that you wanted to see me answer, and you guys definitely delivered. I tried to make sure that I got every question that was asked so I could answer all of them in this video, so I have no idea how long this will end up being. So maybe grab a snack for this one, I don't know. With that said, let's start answering some questions. First up, Spacey Astronaut 46 asks, what got you into playing the Zelda game series in the first place? Several things, really. I'd say that my first real exposure to the series came from some childhood friends of mine, and then it was sort of amplified by watching Peanut Butter Gamer and all his stuff on Zelda. It wasn't until I was in 6th grade, I believe, it was around 2013, that a new kid came to my school and started talking with a lot of my friends about Zelda and Pokemon, which honestly sparked my curiosity. This is really what led me to start playing Pokemon, but Zelda would come a bit later. Fast forward a few years until 2015, and it's pretty close to Easter. My aunt wanted to take me out for a day of shopping with a $100 spending limit as an early birthday gift, as she wouldn't be in town for my birthday in May due to her and my uncle going on a trip abroad, if I remember correctly. Yeah, anyway, we ended up going to GameStop, and I picked out a cool box of Pokemon cards with a Primal Kyogre figure. When I was looking for something else, I happened to see a game that was sitting on the shelf, Majora's Mask 3D. I remember this being the game that both my friend and Peanut Butter Gamer had talked about being one of the best, so on a whim, I bought it, and the rest is just history. Othenio asks, what sort of personal mementos and things from around Hyrule would you keep and display in your roost back in Rito Village? Yeah, I really don't think I'd be living anywhere else in Hyrule, to be honest. I can see myself collecting weapons like swords and bows to display, and definitely some armor pieces. Without a doubt, I would kill to have the Great Eagle Bow or just a replica of it. Like, in real life, honestly, I would kill to have one of those. For armor pieces, I would probably want to get something like the Va Meadow Helm, because I think that would be super cool to have, as well as the Fierce Deity set. That would, oh my god, that would be so cool. Speaking of the Fierce Deity set though, the one thing that, like, this is a bucket list item, no joke. I would definitely get the Fierce Deity sword. I would do anything to get a full-scale replica of it and mount it on my wall, just to flex and say, yeah, I have the Fierce Deity sword. Kaga8935 asks, are there any other video games that you have an interest in talking about? Yeah, there are definitely some games outside of Zelda I would really like to talk about. I would really like to talk more about Elden Ring, and I already did an Elden Ring video on Blythe, because he is probably one of, if not my favorite characters of all time. But I'd love the chance to talk about other games like The Elder Scrolls, Fallout, maybe Destiny? I don't know. Bife's got Destiny lore kind of covered. Unfortunately, YouTube doesn't really like it when I talk about things outside of Zelda, so I can't really say if I'll ever get the chance. It really only depends on whether or not people want to watch that kind of content, and that's something I can't control. I am open to talking about other things than Zelda, but ultimately it just depends on how it performs. This next question is a bit related to the one before it. M. McSorley, I hope I said that right, asks, do you plan on making shorts on other games after you run out of Zelda games? I would suggest Kirby or Metroid. At the time of recording this, the Echoes of Wisdom short has gone live, so I have run out of Zelda games. I do have an idea for at least 1.5 more Zelda in 60 seconds shorts. One of them definitely I want to do. The second one is kind of more of a shitpost. I don't know if I'll do that, but maybe. Other than that, I've definitely considered doing other games, but I've also considered just doing more shorts about Zelda. I'm not sure if I'll do mini theories, but maybe some shorts just voicing my thoughts and opinions on certain things throughout the series. Ultimately, again, it all comes down to the algorithm and what it wants. If I do shorts on games other than Zelda and they get views, then I'll do more. If not, then I'll just have to stick with Zelda stuff. Next up, Alexaris Mendy 6580 asks, what inspired your PFP? Ooh, okay, this is a bit of a long story, but I'm gonna do my best to condense it. So, if it wasn't already obvious, yeah, I'm pretty much a furry. I'm not one in the sense that I dress up in a fursuit and go to conventions, but I'm one in the sense that I like the concept of anthropomorphic animals. I I really don't know when this fascination started, but I remember doodling them every now and then in middle school. Fast forward to fall 2020. I'm in college, just kinda doodling in my free time, and after a while, I end up creating this guy. Pretty crude design, I know. There's nothing that makes him stand out from the crowd, but I'm pretty proud of how he turned out. A couple months later, it's January 2021, and I'm watching an artist by the name of Color Brews over on Twitch. At the time, she would do a stream once a month where her viewers could redeem points to claim a spot in what she called a government-assigned Fursona Thursday or Friday. I think that was what it was called. I don't remember the exact name. But the way these streams would work was that you would give Color a picture of yourself alongside an animal, and she would combine them to basically create a furry version of you. It was during the January stream that I managed to snag one of the 6 slots, and I gave her a decent looking picture of me and the crude drawing I did a few months prior, and she made this. For you longtime subs, you'll recognize this as my first YouTube PFP. This wolf is, to put it simply, an extension of myself. And for a while, he did his job pretty well, serving as somewhat of a mascot for the channel. Now, fast forward to January of last year. My boyfriend wasn't sure what he wanted to get me as a Christmas gift, so he decided that he would just pay for me to have a reference sheet done of my wolf, since the only thing that existed of him was a headshot. I got in touch with an artist, and when they opened their commissions in late April, I snagged a spot. When I was talking with them, I mentioned that I wanted to spruce my wolf up a little bit, make him stand out more, and after a bit of tweaking, the final result came out. Now this ref sheet also came with 2 stickers that I could use on Telegram. The thing is, I don't use Telegram, so they just kinda sat around. That is, at least, until I decided to use them as PNG tuber expressions. Right now, I've only got the 2, the normal expression that you're seeing right now, and but I'd love to get some more to allow my wolf to be a bit more animated, for lack of a better word. I think it'll allow me to stand out in the sea of faceless Zelda tubers, and maybe even serve as a mascot for the channel. That and the merchandising opportunities. No Name Ideas asks, what's your favorite Zelda soundtrack? You know, I've honestly never really thought about it. I mean, I don't know if there's one in particular that I can say stands out above the rest, since each one has a few certified bangers. If I had to choose right this second, I would probably say Majora's Mask, followed very closely by Tears of the Kingdom. There's just something about the music of Majora's Mask that gives this beautiful, haunting feeling to an already dark and depressing game. The Song of Healing is one of those songs that has continued to resonate me for long after I first played the game, purely because of just the strange sadness that hits me whenever I hear it. No joke, whenever I hear this song, the tears will just begin to well up in my eyes just for no reason. There's no other song that does this. And then Tears of the Kingdom, I feel like is pretty self-explanatory, because while its soundtrack is kinda similar to Breath of the Wild in the sense that some of it's very like subdued, quiet, you've got like the bangers like Ganondorf's theme, the Demon Dragon theme, and obviously Colgera's theme. No Name Ideas also asks, do you think Nintendo should do what they did with Echoes of Wisdom and combine the 2 formulas? Or should they create 2 separate teams, one for the new style and one for the old style? You know, I think they should definitely try to combine the 2 formulas. Echoes of Wisdom was definitely a step in the right direction, and it's a direction that I hope they continue a lot of the series on for a bit. It would be impossible to please everyone, but I don't think that the Zelda team should just revert back to the old formula for the next game. The open world formula definitely works, but it needs to be refined and tweaked with each game. We shouldn't have to sacrifice a good story for a large open world to explore. A pretty common example that both I and other Zelda tubers have brought up while discussing this question is Elden Ring, actually. You're able to explore the entirety of the Limgrave area right off the bat, which is already pretty damn big, but if you want the rest of the world to just open up to you, you have to beat Godric the Grafted in Stormvale Castle. I think something like this could work really well with Zelda. Give the player a large open space to explore, but lock some areas behind progression. Maybe they could even make it so that some dungeons are mandatory for progression, while others are just optional. That or they could just, you know, let From Software make a Zelda game. Please, Nintendo, I'm begging you, give me a Zelda Souls-like. I would die happy. Asloris asks, do you personally call it Revali's ferocity or Gale? Since I'm a filthy American, I know it as Revali's Gale. In fact, I didn't even know that it had a different name outside of the English translation until I was conducting my initial research for the Revali video back in 22. I think I initially learned about it from Quest with Aaron's video, because it compared the Japanese dialogue to the English dialogue, and I did include a segment on that because I thought it was so interesting how different Revali was. But yeah, I refer to it as Revali's Gale, and I will probably continue to refer to it as Revali's Gale. Asloris also asks, if you could ever meet Revali, what would you say to his post-mortem self? A number of things, really. Though, I think if I just had to narrow it down to one thing, I would just give him a hug and let him know that he's enough. As somebody who's struggled with perfectionism a lot, he's a character that I see myself in. The cutscene of him from The Champion's Ballad is something that has always stuck in my mind because I know exactly what he's going through in that moment. Like, I've been in positions multiple times throughout my life where I'm working my ass off to meet people's expectations, and then I just watch as other people who seem to do, like, less work just do better. And I have to watch as they get praise, and I'm looked down on like, why couldn't you have done your work like this instead of this? And it's frustrating. It's like, you just question, like, why am I being pushed to the side for the work that I did, while this person who's just naturally gifted just gets all this praise? That's probably one of the biggest reasons that I ended up taking a liking to Revali, because the more I dug into his character, the more I just kind of realized I know what he's going through. Heiz Marie asks, I hope I pronounced that right, who's your favorite champion, sage, Zelda, Link, villain, and companion character? I mean, I'm not sure who my favorite champion is. All four of them are really cool and interesting characters, so I don't know if I can say for sure who my absolute favorite among them is. My favorite sage is unquestionably Tulin. He's just a little guy and I love him to pieces. He's adorable. I really don't know what else to say here. In terms of my favorite Zelda, it is unquestionably Wild Era Zelda. She's probably one of the few Zeldas in the series that actually feels like a character, in my opinion. And she goes through so much growth and trauma in both breath and tears. I'd argue that alongside Revali, Zelda's the only other character that feels real and believable. I really, really hope that we get more characters like her in future games. My favorite Link is definitely a harder question, but I think it has to be a tie between the Hero of Time and the Hero of the Wild. Time is undoubtedly the most iconic Link, and I would argue that he's probably one of, if not, the most powerful Links, thanks to a ridiculous arsenal at his disposal, like the Fierce Deity's Mask. He's also just unquestionably the most tragic character in the series, being a boy who was essentially forced into his role as a hero at a young age, had his childhood stripped from him, then had his adulthood stripped from him, lost multiple friends, and ultimately died alone and forgotten in the woods. One of these days, I'd love to do a video on him, since I'm pretty sure at this point it's like a rite of passage for Zelda tubers to do a video on the Hero of Time. Wild, on the other hand, is probably just as strong as Time, if not a little bit weaker, but he is undoubtedly the most badass in my opinion. He pulled the Master Sword, single-handedly defeated a Lionel, and was beating some of the best swordsmen in the kingdom as a child. He can casually parry literal boulders and lasers with nothing but a pot lid, use bullet time to land multiple hits on enemies at once, ride a motorcycle, and he just casually eats rocks. He is a literal chaos gremlin, and I love him. My favorite villain is undoubtedly Majora. I think that of all the villains in the Zelda series, Majora is probably the most terrifying for one reason. We know nothing. It is a being bent purely on destruction and chaos that is powerful enough to pull the moon from orbit and bring it crashing down to Termina while being imprisoned within a mask. It is at its weakest, and it was able to pull a celestial body out of orbit. I would go as far as to say that it is incapable of feeling compassion or remorse, as it is willing to kill hundreds, if not thousands, just to get what it wants. And the scariest part? We still don't know why. My favorite companion it's probably Midna, though I can see Spirit Zelda from Spirit Tracks being one of my favorites whenever I get around to playing that game. Honestly, I'm not even gonna go into depth about why I like Midna, since everyone and their mother has made a video about why she's the best. eBubs Gaming 11 asks, where do you think Breath of the Wild falls on the timeline? Me personally, I think downfall. I was definitely with you in the fallen timeline camp for a while, especially after MatPat did his video about where he thought it fell in the timeline. He provided a lot of solid evidence in that video, namely how Lynels and Spectacle Rock only appear in the downfall timeline. However, Nintendo has since confirmed that it's in its own separate timeline with Tears of the Kingdom, likely because they wanted to do away with the timeline as a whole, only to then bring it back when they gave Echoes of Wisdom an official placement, so who the hell knows anymore. And to close it all off, we've got a few questions from actual Banivator. First, who inspired you? A number of people, really. I'd say that one of my biggest inspirations was MatPat, as his videos largely contributed to me beginning to look closer at the games I played. I've definitely poked fun at some of his theories in the past, namely the Link is dead theory, but none of them have ever been done in malice. I genuinely respect him, and I hope that he is enjoying his retirement and spending time with his family. Like, dude is going through every possible side quest right now, like he's getting into politics right now, like holy shit. I'd also say that Peanut Butter Gamer was a really big inspiration, as his videos were some of the first that I really remember watching on YouTube. I'd also say that he probably defined like my style of comedy a little bit. I'd say it's definitely changed over the years, but I mean, I feel like I still draw a lot of comedy from his older videos, and some of his newer ones still subscribe to him, still watching every new video that comes out. In terms of Zelda channels, Zeltic was undoubtedly a big influence on me. I'd say his videos were really what introduced me to the idea of Zelda theories, or rather, whole channels dedicated to Zelda theories, because, again, by the time I had found Zeltic, I'd been watching game theory for a few years at that point, and I had known about Zelda theories, but to suddenly see an entire channel dedicated to it, it just blew my mind. Next, how long do you plan to post for? For as long as I can, really. It would honestly be a dream come true to make YouTube my job, but realistically, I don't see that happening anytime soon, because you need to make a lot of money off of each video in order to like officially say, yes, I can safely make a living off of doing YouTube videos. My hope is definitely to continue making videos as a hobby while I have the time, and I'm hoping to still make shorts, since shorts are a lot easier to make compared to long form videos, and I can probably like pump them out easier. I don't think I'll ever be able to get to the rate of one a day, because that takes a lot of work, but maybe, who knows? Who knows? Next up, who is your dream collab? You know, I never really thought of that one before. I definitely think that it would be absolutely amazing to get to work with any one of my biggest inspirations, namely Zeltic and Peanut Butter Gamer. Both of them have largely defined what my channel is, and one of them literally helped me get into Zelda. I'd say if I hadn't watched Peanut Butter Gamer videos, I would not be a fan of Zelda. I don't know for sure though, but who knows. In terms of collabs in general though, I would love to do some more with other Zelda tubers in order to just get my name out there and introduce myself to more people. Though one of the big things that I'm always concerned about is how my schedule will conflict with theirs, and it could not allow me to dedicate as much time and effort into a collab as I would hope. Ultimately, I think that is like a future thing that I will have to solve coming up with future collabs, but I am definitely willing to do more collabs in the future, so who knows? Maybe there will be another one pretty soon. What is your goal for the channel? If we're being realistic, I'd say to just keep going as long as I can. I want to make videos and shorts for as long as I find it fun to do, and I don't ever really expect to become a massive YouTuber. I don't think that we'll ever be able to reach 100,000 or even 1 million. Like, I don't think either of that's possible, but I think that's fine, because realistically, This is just a hobby for right now. I would love to make this my job, but ultimately that just depends on how the algorithm wants to push me. Because if I'm able to start making more videos and those start raking in more views so I can safely make an income off of YouTube, then I will genuinely consider becoming a full-time YouTuber. Until then, though, I am still looking for a full-time job, so who knows? Do you have any plans for the future? In terms of the channel, kinda. I mean, really, I want to just learn how to improve my editing so I can deliver bigger and better projects for you guys to watch. I'm always taking a look at what other people are doing and taking notes in an effort to learn how they did what they're doing so I can adapt it into my own style. Other than that, I'd say that my current plan is to just try and upload more often. The editing is never really the hard part for me. It's the script writing and coming up with ideas, because you have to come up with an idea for a script, then you have to write it, and then knowing me, I'm gonna be like, no, this doesn't work very well, so I have to go back and rewrite it, and I could just go through multiple copies of it. Like, it just takes such a long time, and then by the time it's finally done, I'm always looking at it like, this doesn't really work well, but at that point I'm like, I've already dedicated so much time into this script, I should just push it forward and get with editing. Yeah, but really, I just want to keep uploading so I can improve my skills with each video. And with that, we've reached our last question. How does it feel reaching this milestone? Honestly, unreal. Like, I'm not sure how to put this into words, but I'm just amazed that 5,000 people have looked at my channel and said, yes, I willingly want to accept this thing to appear on my screen. It's just so crazy to me that I decided to make a drastic pivot towards Zelda content seemingly just out of the blue, and it paid off really, really well. Like, no joke, the Rivali video was never supposed to be a video. I had always viewed it as an idea for like a college essay of some kind, and after my first theory video took off, I just kind of thought to myself, why don't I make this a video? And then to just suddenly see it explode in popularity while I was going through one of the lowest points in my life was just, I still don't know how to react to that. All I can really think to say is just, thank you. Thank you for believing that I was worth a subscription, a recommendation to a friend, or anything else that helped me get here. I don't want to let you guys down, so I want to keep improving my videos and keep growing this wonderful little community that we've got. With any luck, maybe we'll hit 10,000. Hell, maybe even 100,000. All we can really do is hope, right? But that's enough for today. I've got at least 3 scripts in the works right now, and I should probably stop procrastinating on them. Thank you all again for helping me to reach this milestone, and I'll be sure to see you in the next video.